Here is a few instances of where they tell you that they're going to lie. This is the first chairman of the UN's Climate Panel Science Panel, Sir John Horton. He wrote in a book on the subject, "Unless we announce disasters, no one will listen." Stephen Schneider, who says we have to offer up scary scenarios. Then Stephen Guilbeault of Greenpeace, global warming can mean colder. It can mean drier. It can mean wetter. That's what we're talking about. Where do they find it?
It's like on the beaches. It's like on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. We're on weekdays, 11:45 Eastern. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. I have to do this piece. I apologise to those of you, and you know who you are, that think my podcast should be either longer or shorter, or in some cases, not at all. Well, I guess you can't please all the people all the time. Someone once said that, I believe. This subject is very close to my heart, as it refers to a tax that has been introduced April 1st in Canada by 57 genders. I'm going to do it in the form of a conversation. There will be snippets in between, but you'll see what I'm getting at. I hope you will. I'm going to paraphrase some of my podcasts that I've done, because I've done many pieces on this. First of all, there's Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is about so-called climate change, because they failed the first time round with global warming. Obviously, as many days during that regime, it was actually cooler, not warmer. So that didn't work. Here's a bit from one of my podcasts on that. Today, I want to talk to you about something which is very simple. That is climate change. The Liberal Communists of Canada have been not promoting, but forcing onto Canadians the false data that they preach as gospel. Not only the Liberal Communists, but politicians of all stripes are lying and continue to lie to Canadians about climate change. Look at the facts. First it was called global cooling. That didn't work. So they came up with global warming. That got a bit more traction, but still not enough to control your lives, to take control of your lives. So they went back to the drawing board and came up with, yes, you guessed it, climate change. Yes, that would work, because as we all know, the climate's always changing. But they needed empirical data to back it up. So they had to get scientists. But they got caught, didn't they? Remember the University of East Anglia? Now they've been caught again. But unfortunately for Canada, we have a government who is hell-bent on destroying the country. And even when the truth comes out, as it always does, they will deny it. So they had to come up with something else. Something that would encompass all eventualities. But what? Well, every day is different. That's right. That's true. So every day, our weather is different. True. So the weather is always changing. Yes, you're right. So let's shorten that a bit. Weather is changing. Now that's not bad, but it's not really catchy enough, is it? We need something a bit shorter. Why don't we have a look on the internet and see if we can find something? Let's type in the word weather into a thesaurus. What do we get?
Weather, climate,
element,
climb, weather, climate.
That's it. Climate. Much better, much better. So what do we have now? Climate is always changing. No, that's not quite right. How about climate changing? Not bad. Sounds a bit better. Not quite right though. I know. Climate is right, yes. What about climate change? Oh, I like that. It's short, catchy, and it's better than saying climate is changing. It says The climate needs to change. Yes, that's much better. We'll go with that. You know what? They can't argue with that because it is. It's always changing. I think we've got them there. Yes, you're right. Now we need something to support that. True. What do you suggest? How about some prestigious university to fudge some figures that no one will question? And bingo! We have a gravy train that we can ride for 30 years. Or let's just turn some figures around on a document nobody will notice and make it look as though things are happening sooner. No one can question that because it's an official document and it's coming from the UN. That's a good idea. Let's go with that. Okay, let's get the information.
Dire warnings that climate change will make Himalayan glaciers disappear within 25 years are now sounding like an embarrassing meltdown by United Nations scientists. They've admitted it could take hundreds of years to destroy the glaciers, and the mistake is being blamed on a simple typing error and Chinese whispers. Jane Luscombe reports.
It's an icy little mistake about glaciers that's raised a big cold question about the way the UN Climate Change Panel is checking its facts. It had said that Himalayan glaciers could vanish in 25 years. Now it's being forced to re-examine its own findings and is likely to retract the claim.
They have put something in their report which is used by many governments around the world as being the true state of science. It's not.
The problem's partly down to Chinese whispers. Way back in 1996, UNESCO produced a report predicting that glaciers would shrink catastrophically by 2350. Somewhere along the way, someone picked up that figure and mistakenly read it as 2035, 300 years sooner. This figure then popped up in a news story 8 years ago, quoting a little-known Indian scientist. And it's that article, rather than a proper scientific study, that seems to have been taken as fact by the UN panel.
That is not based on solid science at all.
There is an intriguing twist in the climate change controversy this evening. It has to do with data said to be manipulated by scientists. And that data was given to then President Obama and other world leaders at a critical moment. Doug McKelway looks at that tonight.
The accusations are explosive that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration intentionally manipulated data to hide a 12-year pause in global warming, and that the flawed study was a major influence in the 2015 Paris Climate Summit, where Western nations agreed to spend billions to reduce fossil fuel use. That, according to John Bates, who recently retired as a lead scientist of NOAA's National Climatic Data Center. His claim took center stage at a House hearing today entitled "Making the EPA Great Again."
We have every reason to be skeptical that our scientific community is maintaining its integrity.
In an exclusive interview Sunday with the Daily Mail, NOAA whistleblower Bates said, quote, "They had good data from buoys and they threw it out and corrected it by using the bad data from ships. You never change good data to agree with the bad, but that's what they did, so as to make it look as if the sea was warmer." In a blog post, Bates skewered the study's author, Tom Carl, that he, quote, "constantly had his thumb on the scale in the documentation, scientific choices, and release of data sets, all to discredit the notion of a global warming hiatus." The CEO of the American Association for the Advancement of Science today defended the NOAA study and said that Bates' whistleblowing is overblown.
All he is doing, quote, is calling out a former colleague for not properly following agency standards. This is not the making of a big scandal. This is an internal dispute between two factions within an agency.
In a statement, NOAA said, quote, "It stands behind its world-class scientists, but takes the allegations seriously and, quote, will review the matter appropriately." Critics note climate research today is almost entirely funded by the government.
A number of scientists have come to me telling me that where before a certain time period they were receiving government research contracts, afterwards, after it became clear they didn't agree with the CO2 theory, no more contracts.
In a statement late today to Fox News, Bates said his whistleblowing was not based on any personal feud, but is focused, quote, on concerns he raised and the opportunity they will be addressed. Bill?
Thank you, Doug.
Yes, that's great. By then, 30 years from now, it'll be too late for those middle-aged folk. We have already sold the children of today, as they will be adults then. And we've done it. We have total control, and no one will ever see through it. We have the media, we have the education, and most importantly, we have all the politicians. So, we have it all. Good job, guys. Now, all we have to do now is make it illegal to talk about it on the internet, and we're set. Yes, we're working on that, but we still have to get control of America. Yes, that's a problem. Yes, it is. But our Democrat friends are working on that, so I think that will fall into place. What do you mean, that will fall into place? Well, let's just say there's a lot of immigration going on from south of the border, and leave it at that. Oh, I see. That's where our Democrat friends come in. Yes, you got it. Don't worry, it'll be fine. But in the meantime, we can go ahead with those other countries, and sooner or later, the US will follow. Brilliant, brilliant. This is going to be great. We're going to make a fortune. Now, I'm guessing it went something like that. Maybe not exactly like that, but it went something like that. And that is probably paraphrasing conversations and emails and communications of various types over many years. But that is what they're doing. That is what they have done, certainly in Canada and in most of Europe. In our case, Canada, the cost of carbon dioxide tax, which is only part of Agenda 2030, will be the undoing of the finance of Canada. Let me give you an example. I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. Everything goes up because everything costs more at the base level. So people need more money. Small businesses can't cope, so they cut staff. More people becoming unemployed. Therefore, their buying power drops. Therefore, people can't buy things. Therefore, more people become unemployed. And a vicious circle it goes. Only the elite are immune. Only the elite are immune. That's very important that you get that. Ordinary folk will suffer. Oh, we'll give you some money back. But when they run out of other people's money, what are they going to do then? They don't care. And if you think the answer is to have an electric car, think again. When no one can afford to buy gasoline to put in their car, let alone buy the car, what are they going to do? They have to put the price of electricity up because they need that gravy train of money. And you matter not. It's all about the money. It's all about control. It's nothing to do with the climate because you know what? The climate is always changing. I keep telling everybody, life is very simple. It's only politicians and lawyers that make it not. This is a money grab. It's a control grab for your lives. And if you cannot see that, then you are a lemming and you deserve everything you're going to get. And go ahead and vote Liberal this October and see what you get. You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. We're also on Spotify. Just go to the podcast section and type Canadian Politics with a twist and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on these links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all our morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio, and click on the like button. And you can hear a review of our morning moments on WHBJ-DB, News, Talk, Radio on Spreaker.com. Join us and many others. And you can find all our podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com. Click on the Morning Moments tab.